Hello everyone, welcome to another Brucie-Magik video. This time we will be reviewing the newly released JT route, or just trains route, which is Midland Main Line Derwent Valley extension. This covers the route currently in use by East Midlands Railway between Derby and Matlock. Obviously the main Derby to Sheffield route has been released for a few weeks now, maybe a month or two. And as you'll probably realise, this extension just extends the line from Ambergate Junction to the terminus at present at Matlock. The route itself, the Derwent Valley route itself, is about £7.99 to purchase. Obviously you will need some prerequisites like the MML from Just Trains as a separate entity in order to run this add-on. At the moment we're joining the train just north of Belper. We're going to head into Ambergate Station. So this is how we access the single working no token required branch. You go along the down main from Derby in the Chesterfield direction. We've got the Ambergate loops here, and obviously we have to slow down for a 15 mph marker. I was taking it a bit easy here, and then a little not so easy as I hit the 15, but we'll gloss over that. You go through a little 15 mph section just as we cross off the main, across a bridge, and then we just open up for a short section of 25 before we pull in and stop at Ambergate Station. As you can see from the up front view, which will probably be the view that we're mostly going to be seeing from whenever we drive this route, we can tell that the scenery is very well detailed. The new trees, which are VP trees, the Vulcan Productions trees, definitely bring a large benefit to this route, and obviously add to the visual enhancements overall and the experience gained. As you can tell, all custom assets used on this route. I think there's a few reused ones, but there's obviously common stuff like tower masts and etc. For mobile phone signal. There is one or two down this route. And as a whole, first impressions when I first got this route were ultimately very impressed. I was very impressed with this indeed. I'll be showing you various aspects of the detail, and we'll start with Ambergate Station as soon as we pull in and stop at the platform. So we're now approaching and stopping at Ambergate, and just give you a quick aerial view of what's going on around. So obviously you can see the scenery density is quite high. The landscaping has been done beautifully with the trees and the hills, the types of fields and the land that's around. Obviously, as you can see, the car park has been put in, but there's a few lack of details, because obviously you're not going to realise when you're sitting inside the cab view permanently near enough all the time. You can see the old disused platform there, but as I said, all of the landscaping has been absolutely done beautifully by Just Trains. Absolutely spot on. So we now head off from Ambergate in the general direction of What Standwell, or What Standwell, or What Does Standwell. Weird name, but lovely little place. I've got off there in person before. I've walked down the Cromford and High Peak Canal before in the mid-spring. Absolutely lovely to do that. And we're just driving past the old platform now that used to be there. Obviously Ambergate Station would have been extremely different in steam days in the early 60s, before the route got truncated. This was obviously the main line to Manchester. And once again another shot, this time of the train going past us. This is highlighting the amount of trees that are actually along this line. This actually reflects real life, and it really does add to the visual effect of this route. Obviously you can see the custom bridge, and there's a custom house there as well. Obviously very useful items as well for route builders should they want to make their own freeway routes. And here's a train just pulling into What Standwell Station. Again, another beautifully done station, small in nature, It used to be a lot more grandiose, probably back in the days of Steam. And what I do find interesting is that footbridge there, obviously of Midland design, very well made, very well done. Again, something that will find use elsewhere if they do any more Midland type routes in a modern age setting. And now for some dodgy camera work. This is just to show off the area around Wat Stanwell to the south. So River Derwent on the left, Cromford and High Peak Canal on the right. As you can see, JT have done a very good thing here of limiting the scenery to the immediate area around the railway, which is pretty good for line side perspectives and so forth. Luckily it don't overload the system. They've also put in a lot of small details as well. Note that the tractor is waiting at the crossing. Just details in gardens and little buildings and so forth. Something which often goes unmissed. We'll just have a quick look at Wat Stanwell Station. That is there in real life, the date on there. I've forgotten what it signifies now. And then we've got the flower beds and the Wat Stanwell sign in a Midland type style. And we've got the East Midlands Trains information posters. Obviously it's now East Midlands Railway, but those posters would have been fairly damn accurate for the time before handover from East Midlands Trains to East Midlands Railway. And obviously at every station there's also signposts as well, which is very useful, all detailed correctly with details of what's going on. And a quick look at the footbridge. Just look how crisp that really is. And with that, we're now on the way to Cromford. Cromford is the third to last station on this route. Obviously it's the last station before Matlock Bath and Matlock Station. And it's here where we start seeing the first tunnels appear on the route. These feature heavily more towards Matlock, but again all done to a very high standard. And the scenery density, again I'm going to mention it, is very well balanced. You get fantastic views like this one, which I'm very glad I recorded and put in now. So obviously the close range sort of views are very highly detailed, but what matters is the ones in the distance are also detailed as well. So you don't lose that perspective of depth, but at the same time they're not overloading the game with a load of assets that need to be loaded in. And that is something that has to be heralded. I do think that in this day and age with train sim, especially 64-bit being very unstable but required to run more routes, we're starting to hit that problem. And hence we arrive into Cromford Station. Again, we've got another style of footbridge included at the station here. I always thought, especially in real life and in modern terms, Cromford Station looks a bit, I'd say naff, maybe apart from the other stations, with the exclusion of Ambergate. I think that's just because of how it was built and how it's developed over time in history. The disused platform is still there, which is the same as modern life. Obviously not much going on with that. There's a small car park around here, but JT have nailed the details, I think. They've done a fair representation of this station with the fences, the buildings, the footbridge, the car park, which is only small anyway. And then we'll just quickly move around. And there's all the signs. So yeah, they've done all the signs, all the bins, etc. that are about on the station, including this lovely old building. And moving onwards and forwards, we are now departing Cromford. We're going to head to Matlock Bath now. And for this portion of the video at least, I'm just going to take us up front, just so we can experience the tunnels. Obviously, being the idiot I am, I didn't turn on my instrument lights, which made it very difficult to know what speed I was doing without any HUD being up, but hey, did a bit of guesswork and I seem to get it right. So, That's how I roll these days. Anyway, so yeah, this is the first of the really long tunnels, really. We've got a couple after Matlock Bath heading into Matlock. So obviously, as we get further up the branch towards Matlock, it gets a lot hillier. And obviously they had to use in real life a lot of tunnels to get themselves around the problem of hills, otherwise we'd be on a 1 in 10 grade, if not less than that. And as you can see, we come out, you see the details on the rock cliff faces and the little yard that is there in real life on the left hand side. And like the other stations, there is a little foot crossing that links up with a footpath, hence why I blew my horn. And this is Matlock Bath Station, which again is fair creation. Those of you who are eagle-eyed have probably just spotted a cable car that's at the top of your picture. I'm going to be looking at that in a second. But it's been many years since I went to Matlock Bath, but the main representation from what I know of this place is, again, very well represented. So I'll have a look around the detail and I'll show you those cable cars. And now we have a look at the cable cars. Now these are a fully custom asset. I did research, I double checked. These are fully custom asset. The building is the same shape as the actual real thing. These are the cable cars of the Abraham Heights. It's kind of like a touristy type attraction with caverns, a few other bits and pieces, etc. And I really like this. It's nice that they went to the lengths to obviously model this. I just really wish that they made it movable like an animated object. Matlock Bath Station, and we have these beautiful signs by children from the local interment education school that's basically just advertise the place, make it look pretty, breed god awful. You've then got the station building where it's lovely, very weird. I think I'd describe it as parquet sort of design. Sorry about dodgy camera work. And as you can see, the buildings have been faithfully reproduced. I believe there are some shops on the station premises, and the town and car park have also been done just to give a bit of depth to scenery, but not too much to tax the game. Okay, so off we go towards Matlock Bath. Now this is the longest section, or longest bit of film in the video really. This is mainly because I wanted to showcase you all the tunnels. And whilst they are just tunnels, you don't really get an appreciation of just how many tunnels there are on this stretch of line, especially on the last 2 miles. So we're heading towards the little destination of Matlock. And this is the first tunnel we go into. There are obviously several more. This time I have turned the instrument lights off so I could actually see what the hell I'm doing, which is always a bonus. So, through the first one, then there's a gap and there's a second one. Not much detail to show other than they've been replicated quite well. And that's tunnel 2 here. This is tunnel 3, note the sandbags on the ground. This is the longest, or the curviest I believe, so far. So, there we go, yeah, because you go sweeping around this bend. And then you come towards the permanent distance sign eventually. With the mobile phone mast there. Again, another item that seems to be quite prominent on the modern railways, faithfully modelled. And it's not out of place. JT are on the winner with that one. Being able to use that wherever required. I'm on the many bridges. I've lost count of tunnels now. This is another one. If you notice, they're all a slightly different design. Obviously, they've all been done at different times in the railway's history, or they've been replaced or redone at some point, rebored. And we just need to slow down a little bit for a 15 mile an hour, which I didn't quite make, but gloss over that. Oh, I did. There we go. And here's Matlock platform, which For those who are eagle-eyed of you who've seen footage or been there, you will know that this is actually quite, I'd say this is very, very faithful to the actual place. Obviously you've got the peak rail platform on your left-hand side, peak rail ahead of you. This is where our line finishes. And the station just seems to be well represented on that front. It seems to be very, very, very accurate. So we've got a little bit of scenery density here. We've got the footbridge, we've got the gift shops and the booking office here. Got a little bus station that's been plonked down, and we've also got the car park. There is a supermarket here, obviously unbranded, just give a bit of depth on scenery. And obviously you can tell there's a texture change as well on the top of the platforms for Peak Rail and Network Rail. This is the branch going off towards Peak Rail, which hasn't been followed up on, but I'll come to that in a moment. And again, you can see just how well everything's been modelled. I can only say good things about this route so far. We're going to do a review of pros and cons in a second. Again, just a quick look at that North Midland Railway design building. And this is obviously a modern edition with the little shelter and pagoda. Moving on to the tick machine gift shop sort of area. And the lovely signs that are also reflected on the real station. Bienvenue. I don't know what that is. ISIS want to attack Abraham Heights, and other stories. And the man wearing that Parker jacket is a dodgy character. But anyway, all in all, very, very nice route from what we have seen so far. So now on to the pros and cons of the route. Okay everyone, now let's have a bit of a verdict to go on. So positives about this route are the route is extremely detailed for what it is. Even though it is a short branch line, it has been recreated faithfully as per real life, something that is very highly commended by myself. It is an affordable route and thus an affordable piece of DLC, which I'll later get onto at point 5. Point 3 is that this route comes with 20 scenarios, 7 of which use or have the option of a default stock setup or a fully third-party DLC setup. Point number 4, custom assets are used for all the stations and other significant landmarks. As displayed in the video, all the stations are unique in their own way and thus have, in some respects, not a lot in common with each other. So a lot of custom assets have been made and used for those stations. And the Abraham Heights cable car, as well as the various tunnels and bridges along the route, cover significant landmarks. And lastly, this part of the Derwent Valley route actually forms part of a larger network when you connect it up to the Midland Main Line Derby-Sheffield route. This route will later be extended down towards Nottingham and Leicester, and I think this opens up a large potential for playability and scenario building, so you can get plenty of enjoyment factor out of this DLC. And now we'll look at the negatives very quickly. There's only 3 I can pick up on. The first one is that there was an opportunity to include the preserved peak rail line that was missed out. I reckon that they could have at least maybe put the track in and put some basic scenery down, at least giving the option for people to maybe make it their own if needs be, to finish off that little section. I do feel that was an opportunity that was missed by Just Trains. I do feel that this route could have been included with the main actual pack from Derby to Sheffield. The reason I say this is because the branch is actually quite short. I appreciate there's a lot of work and custom assets that have gone into this which will warrant it as its own project. However, that being said, one would have thought that they would have put this in with the main Derby to Sheffield package. And lastly, some AI passengers do actually wander across from the platform into the path of the train. This is something that you'll see in our ending clip whilst we end the video. But it's something that I've managed to avoid filming, luckily. But it's only a minor issue. I think this is more to do with Train Sim than it is to do with Just Trains. Overall, I do find this a very sound product to purchase. I can recommend it as a good purchase to buy. The playability with all the scenarios included, along with all the possibilities of route interaction with Derby to Sheffield and then later the Derby Nottingham Leicester extension, obviously opens up a lot of potential for the route. I feel this is well worth the $7.99 of your Imperial credits of the Queen's Realm, and that this can bring many hours of enjoyment to the discerning player. And on that note, we will end the video. Thank you very much for watching this Brucie-Magik production review of the Just Trains Derwent Valley Line. Hope you join us again next time for another exciting instalment of Railworks Frolics and Train Sim, trying to make sure that animated people get killed by trains as displayed here. Good old Train Sim. It'll always be the same.